Points of knowledge here. So this list comprises of laws that are most commonly broken. I'm pretty sure anyone watching this would describe themselves as law-abiding. However, it turns out that these crimes are so common that each of us are bound to have committed at least one of these. So let's get into it. Connecting to an unsecured network. Unauthorized access of an unsecured network, otherwise known as piggybacking, is illegal in many jurisdictions across the world. Piggybacking consists of gaining access to a network which is not your own, and thus being able to access the internet free of charge. It is surprisingly easy to do, as our devices easily determine whether a network is secure or unsecure. If unsecure, there is no password required. All that's required is a simple click of a button. A recent study revealed that 58% of internet users admit to having piggybacked in the past, while 29% thought there was nothing wrong in doing so. The reason why piggybacking is illegal usually revolves around a law which prohibits obtaining information without authorization. For instance, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act 1986, which was enacted in the US, states that a person who intentionally accesses a computer without authorization for the purposes of obtaining information is guilty of an offence. Although it appears to be unlikely that you will be arrested for piggybacking, there are several examples where individuals have been arrested and ordered to pay a fine or do some form of community service. Singing Happy Birthday in public. In 1998, the Guinness World Records labelled the Happy Birthday song as the most recognisable song in the English language. The song was sung at John F. Kennedy's birthday concert in 1962 by Marilyn Monroe. It was even sung from outer space during the Apollo 9 mission. However, the song has been copyrighted since 1924 when the lyrics appeared in a songbook. The song is currently owned by Time Warner, who purchased its copyright in 1988 for $25 million. The song is therefore subject to copyright law, which, if infringed, could result in a significant fine or royalties to be paid out. Under US copyright law, authors of music compositions have the exclusive right to perform the copyrighted composition publicly. So, to sing or perform Happy Birthday in public, or among a substantial number of people who are not family or friends in a private setting, you are technically required to pay royalties to Time Warner. This is not limited to the US and applies worldwide. Jaywalking. Jaywalking is the act of crossing a street where there is no designated pedestrian crossing. Those from the UK may not be familiar with the term, nor with the law. However, those from the US, Australia, New Zealand and many other countries around the world will be all too familiar with it. If caught by the authorities, the usual punishment is a fine, although in some cases it has resulted in arrests. There are many reasons why the laws relating to jaywalking are commonly broken. Designated crossings are programmed to administer lengthy wait times for pedestrians in order to reduce congestion. For some pedestrians, waiting for that little green man to appear is simply not worth it, especially if the nearest crossing is far away and thus impractical to use. Another reason is that some pedestrians are uncomfortable crossing four-way intersections, as there are cars coming from all directions. Therefore, jaywalking further up the street appears to be a safer option, as traffic only comes from two directions. Although jaywalking may not seem to be a serious offence, statistics suggest it should not be treated lightly. From 1975 to 2005, approximately 180,000 pedestrians have either been injured or killed due to jaywalking in the US. Urinating in public. Urinating in public is, for the most part, frowned upon and contrary to several laws in several different nations. In some jurisdictions, the offence is labelled as a public order offence or urinating in public. However, the act may result in much more serious crimes being committed, such as sexual offences. It may even result in the person being registered as a sex offender. In a single night, an astounding 30 people are estimated to urinate in public in an average-sized city. The offence is so common that one city is considering installing urine detectors at a cost of $1 million. The detectors would alert the police as soon as the person urinates on the sensors. The stereotypical person who would commit such an offence is usually a male in his 20s or 30s. The male is also likely to have consumed alcohol shortly before. Indeed, statistics show that this stereotype appears to be well-founded. However, the basic bodily function affects everybody, and many are caught in the act who do not fit the above stereotype. Littering. The causes of littering are arguably triggered by one thing: laziness. Conversely, this is understandable. No one wants to walk around with a piece of trash in their hand for an unknown amount of time while searching for an appropriate place to put it. Unlike many crimes, it would appear that there is no obvious stereotypical litterer. Virtually everyone has littered at some point in their life, although a study suggests that 16 to 34s are more likely to litter. A poll of 5,000 found that around 36% litter. However, the number is likely to be larger than this for the reason that people generally don't admit to criminal activity. Furthermore, 40 million taxpayer dollars are spent each year in Texas alone on cleaning up litter. This suggests that the problem is much more prevalent. Driving offences. There are a host of driving offences that motorists commit every day. They range from not wearing a seatbelt, using a cell phone, driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and performing illegal manoeuvres. Simply driving is dangerous enough. On highways, drivers are hurling metal machines at 20 to 80 miles an hour, amongst other larger and smaller metal machines. On regular roads, those machines are coming and going from all directions. Everyone is aware of the dangers of driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Reaction times are slower, vision is blurred, and concentration levels decrease. However, figures suggest that attitudes to using a cell phone while driving appear to be quite relaxed. Researchers have found that texting while driving is the equivalent to being intoxicated 1/4 over the legal limit. Also, having in-depth conversations hands-free also proved to be a dangerous distraction. Tax evasion. Tax evasion is arguably one of the most damaging crimes to a country. As we all know, tax helps to fund and improve certain aspects of a society, such as hospitals, schools, police, and other public services. Tax evasion decreases the funds a government has to spend on such services. It is so prevalent that data released in 2010 estimated that the US Treasury has lost $337 billion. On a global scale, tax evasion totals in excess of $3.1 trillion. To put this in perspective, the total cost of the healthcare of the states surveyed amounted to $5.7 trillion. Therefore, tax evasion costs on average 54.9% of the state's healthcare costs. Since individuals, companies, trusts, and other organizations are required to pay tax, there is a tremendous scope for evasion to take place. Underage drinking. The legal drinking age differs throughout the world. It usually ranges from age 16 to 21, but in a few countries it's completely banned. However, as we have found on this list, laws are not always obeyed, and underage drinking is certainly not an exception. Alcohol appears to be the drug of choice for adolescents. A US study found that 9.3 million 12 to 20-year-olds had consumed alcohol within the past 30 days. Furthermore, 5.9 million were classed as binge drinkers, while 1.7 million were classed as heavy drinkers. The reasons why underage drinking is so prevalent are varied. Surveys have found that the generic reasons are often cited, such as to be more social, to get the rush or buzz of alcohol, and to increase confidence. However, researchers suggest that a deeper analysis is needed to get to the root of the problem. Some researchers argue that a recent cultural change is a contributing factor. Adolescents intoxicated have become increasingly accepted in today's culture. It is argued that these aspects of society has contributed to the increase in underage drinking. Illegally downloading music. From the inception of Napster in 1999, illegally downloading music has been a very popular exploit of the internet. Admittedly, downloading a few songs or albums without paying may not seem like the crime of the century. However, millions of people do this around the world every day. This means that the accumulative effect is obvious. For instance, in 2008, it was estimated that 95% of downloaded music was done illegally. During the first 6 months of 2012, there were just under 100 million downloads in the US alone via BitTorrent. The total number of downloads in the US for that period will be larger than this, as BitTorrent is only one of many ways to download music. The reasons why people choose to illegally download music are relatively simple to address. Why set up an account with a legal distributor and pay when and there are hundreds of websites offering the same file for the price of nil. People do get arrested and fined for such activity. However, those people are notable due to their exception. Speeding. The offence of speeding was intentionally left out of Entry 5, driving offences, due to its dominance in laws that are broken. The amount of cars on the road today exceeds 1 billion. This would average out at about 1 car for every 7 people in the world. With so many cars on the roads, it's hardly surprising that speeding laws are commonly broken. The annual economic cost of speeding has been estimated at $40.4 billion in the US alone. It was a contributing factor in 30% of crashes and causes around 10,000 deaths per year in the US. Although the number of fatalities due to speeding has slowly declined over the past few years, it still remains a significant problem in most countries. In focus groups, it was found that almost all the drivers believed that they could exceed a given speed limit without worrying about or receiving a speed ticket. Researchers also found that most drivers want to drive faster than the speed they themselves deem to be safe. With drivers making such arguments, it's no wonder why speeding is arguably the most common crime today. Alright, that's it for this list. Live long and prosper.